So after the last video about the European Championships, well, the floodgates opened and a lot of people started speaking to me about their experience or what happened to them at the European Championships, including Aimee Cringle. Welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be a follow-up to the last video about the European Championships, talking about the athletes not getting paid, those podium athletes not receiving their prize purse. If you don't know about that situation, I'll put a link up to the last video over here. But after seeing that the athletes were not getting paid, well, a lot of people realized that maybe they also weren't going to see some money that had been promised. So we'll be looking at that group of people and who else is maybe expecting money or owed money from the European Championships. And also a little look at the history of the prize purse and what's happened maybe in years past. Others just wanted to share a little bit about their personal experience at the event, whether that be on the workforce side or as an athlete. And then I'd like to talk about something that's kind of behind the majority of the issues that we saw at this event, and that it really seems like a case of over-promising and under-delivering. But speaking about athletes not being paid, if you watch the last video, you'll know that none of the podium athletes were paid. However, there was a rumor going around that maybe Aimee Cringle had been paid. And when I reached out to Carl in the European Championships, they said that she definitely had not been paid. Still, others didn't believe that. A lot felt because of her presence on social media and the number of followers she had that maybe she had been paid and they were lying. At the time of recording the video, I hadn't heard anything back from Aimee herself. However, since then, I have had the chance to speak to Aimee Cringle. She has confirmed that she definitely was not paid and she is in the same boat as everybody else. And really, that shouldn't be surprising when we see what else is going on, and we'll come back to these points a little bit later. But it is interesting that a lot of people didn't know about this situation. They didn't know the athletes weren't receiving their prize money. It's also interesting that at the same time we're hearing that Can West also are in a similar situation where they're not paying out the prize purse. So maybe this is a more common problem than we realize. Maybe it's a problem that people just aren't speaking about, or at least not enough people are speaking about. And I'm not here to pile on and try and make life miserable for the European Championships. I understand that it's a huge amount of work for them to put on this event in the first place. But I was surprised to find out that this issue with the prize purses, well, it's not the first time it's happened. In fact, it's been a couple of years where after the fact, the prize purse has been changed and athletes haven't been receiving what was promised initially, but they've been receiving less. Now, obviously, they're given reasons and justifications for this, but the point is that if we're not speaking about this, if people don't know, they can't make informed decisions. If an athlete wants to go and compete at that event, knowing that in the past there's been issues with the prize purse, well, they can make an informed choice and go and do that. However, if this catches them unawares and they didn't know that historically a competition is not paying out its full prize purse, well, that's a different matter, isn't it? Now, as shocking as I found it to hear that these athletes weren't receiving their prize money, ultimately, it doesn't really affect my life. Well, only in the fact that I'm making these videos. And I would imagine that the majority of people watching the videos are not affected personally by the fact that the athletes weren't getting paid. But there were a number of people that did watch the video that realized, hold on, if the athletes are not getting paid, I'm probably not getting paid either. For example, the judges. So judges had been promised £50 a day for judging. Very commendable. But another case of over-promising, because the judges have not been paid. In fact, they've now received the same email that the podium athletes got, explaining the situation, the financial difficulties that the European Championships is in, and that they don't have the money to pay them. So they are now pretty much in the same boat as the athletes. I've also heard that the media team is in the same situation, and others that had roles within the European Championships that were expecting to be paid are also in that same situation, which means we're starting to develop a hierarchy, aren't we? I mean, when money comes in, who's the first to get it? Are we paying the athletes first, the judges? Well, speaking to some of the people involved, they've kind of let me know that for them, they're pretty much writing this off as they're never going to see that money. But I want to step aside from the money for a moment, because maybe we could defend them a little bit if we discovered that this was the most incredible experience ever, the most well-run event, the best experience for the athletes, for the judges. However, from what I'm hearing from the different people who have reached out to me, unfortunately, that wasn't the case. It seems like events were overrunning. It meant that actually an entire WOD got cut. Also, because there were cuts anyway, it meant that some of the people only did very few workouts over the entire course of the weekend anyway. It was long days for the judges with WODs changing last minute, so they were having to adapt on the fly, wrong weights being loaded on the barbells, all the typical problems that we could see, but just all coming at once. Add to that the fact that they weren't getting many breaks, even the issue with food, for example, being provided microwave meals when you're working outside at an event outside where there is no access to a microwave. So problems like this were just kind of piling on to what was already going on. And unfortunately for many, this was not the experience that they'd signed up for. And I know that now people are speaking freely about this, particularly once they've kind of discovered they're not getting the money. They're posting up about it. So I don't need to really add any more to that. And ultimately, I do feel that everything was done with the best of intentions. It was just an ambitious plan that they were unable to pull off. And clearly a lot was riding on ticket sales and the idea that they could fill this venue. And from what I'm hearing from people that were there, well, that just wasn't the case. Someone said that it was almost like the only people actually watching were the other athletes and the volunteers. So it seems like there were very few ticket sales and a lot riding on the fact that they really wanted to sell out this event. And despite some interesting initiatives like trying to offer a percentage of the entry fee back if a percentage of tickets were sold, they were unable to sell out the event or even to sell much of the event. But we can't say they weren't trying. But again, it comes down to this problem of over-promising and under-delivering. And I say problem because it really is a problem. I think there are two main reasons this becomes a real problem. The first is the individual's perception. For example, if you invite someone over to watch the CrossFit Games at your house and you don't provide any food, well, you've only promised that they're going to come and watch the games. But then if you did pull out some beer and pizza, well, it's a good evening all round. On the other hand, if you invite someone over and promise them unlimited pizza and beers, and when they arrive, there's one slice of pizza that you're all going to share, understandably, that person's going to be disappointed. Likewise with volunteers and judges, if they know they're going to do it for free and they choose to go, they're happy to be there. Give them a bag of swag from the event and it's happy days. However, if you promise to pay them for their time and then you don't, well, now you have disappointed judges. But there is a much bigger problem here. And it's basically the same issue that we mentioned in the last video regarding the prize purse. There are a lot of competitions. On that weekend, there was another competition that people could choose to go to judge at, for example. So the same way the athlete may look at the prize purse and decide, well, this one's going to pay out more if I can make it to the podium and I think I've got a good shot, so I'm going to go there. If you present a judge, and we know judges are like gold dust, it's hard to get enough judges for competitions. So if you are presenting a judge with two competitions, and one is saying they're going to pay you and the other isn't, well, it would be understandable that the judge might choose to go to that event basically because they're going to get paid. But then if you don't pay them, well, in that case, are we stealing judges from the other competition? And again, I would say, from what I'm hearing, none of this was done with malice. This wasn't some big master plan to exploit these people. It just was a case of over-promising and under-delivering. Good intentions that were just unfulfilled. And I actually think that a lot of that has to do with just the nature of CrossFit, CrossFit events, CrossFit as a sport, the amount of volunteers and athletes that attend these events, and the makeup of the CrossFit community in general. And I would really like to dig deeper into that in another video. But ultimately, in conclusion for this, I think it's good that people are talking about what's happened at the European Championships. I think it's good that people can make informed decisions about what they want to do with regards to events, what events they want to go to, how they want to use their time, energy, money, and resources within the CrossFit community. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this event. If you know of other events that are doing exceptionally well or having similar difficulties, please let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in a future video.